G'day all, welcome back to the G-Man Show. Thank you for joining me on the internet. We're looking at another ABC News In-Depth episode. We're going to talk through it, going to give you my comments, and guys, I encourage you to comment on it in the comment section. We're going to jump straight in. First up, rates, interest rates.
Welcome to Close of Business. I'm Alicia Barry. The Reserve Bank shocked markets and economists by not delivering a July rate cut. Now the RBA governor has cooled expectations of rate relief in August, cautioning it's dependent on further falls in inflation. We'll explore how the property market is reacting in a moment, but first, this report from Rihanna Whitson.
All right. So once again, stringing everybody along, people who are suffering. I know there are other people on the other side of the fence who want to see rates go up. They want to see things implode, so then they can also have their interests served. So before I get into it, everyone has their own self-interest. So mortgage holders, business owners, they're going to want interest rate cuts because it is stifling the economy. It is stifling discretionary spending budgets of households across the country. And it is just stifling investment in business. There is no growth. We're in a huge retracing cycle at the moment. And they're going to talk about it and they're going to glance over and say, things are looking good here and all that. Things are not good out there. Oh, yeah.
Finding friendly faces after copying criticism for the Reserve Bank's shock decision to leave interest rates on hold. Michelle Bullock defiant in the face of unemployment hitting a 4-year high.
Do you think the board's decision may have been different had it had access to that unemployment data ahead of the last meeting?
No, I don't believe so, Michael.
Get stuffed. A lot of people, there are a lot of layoffs happening at the moment. I do not trust that everything is okay. I do not trust that the data that we're presented with is accurate. It's all cherry picked and things are taken out and things are put in to get to a certain number. There have been a lot of layoffs. I've been seeing it all over LinkedIn and seeing all news reports about it and seeing TikTok full of it. It is spiking through the roof. Look up layoffs. Increase in redundancies in Victoria. I think it's something like 50% increase on last year. Look it up, like the data is there. Like it will tell you. Yeah, nothing to see here. No, we're good. We'll just bring in some more migrants to prop up those numbers that'll go straight into working gig economy jobs for 1 hour a week. Yeah, props it up. Yeah, no worries. What about all the people out there who have been laid off, who are very qualified, have trades, worked for small businesses, white collars? It's happening across the board. Government just shed thousands of jobs or hundreds of jobs in Victoria and New South Wales. So if you can say, oh yeah, it's all good, nothing to see here, wouldn't have changed anything, it's because they don't give a stuff. It's just to squeeze as much life out of this economy as possible. Look at the increase in insolvencies from last year to this year. Just Google that. I'm not going to tell you what it says. It'll shock you. It'll put chills up your spine. Small businesses are failing on a higher rate than ever before. Ever. Collapsing. Going into liquidation. Because of all the taxes, the high interest rates, everything. It's just not an environment for business. Now, these people who work in government or government departments, they're funded by the taxpayer, you, me, everybody watching at home. They don't feel the real world when business has to bring in revenue. And what happens when that literally shrinks? Everyone has a hard time, and a lot of people are having a hard time at the moment. So these people who have worked in government their whole life, in the public service, no true understanding of what's going out there in private businesses.
I think the monthly numbers pop up and down.
Yeah.
The RBA doesn't expect the jobs market to deteriorate.
The forward-looking indicators, including vacancies, including layoff rates, including the information we're getting from Liaison, aren't suggesting that anything's falling off a cliff anytime soon.
Of course they're going to say that. Is that really the reality on the ground? I know a lot of people who have been made redundant and are either underemployed or unemployed, cannot get work. Being very qualified, cannot get a job. There's just the job market is shrinking. Yeah, nothing to see here. I cannot trust it. I can't take it seriously. I think it's an absolute joke.
Michelle Bullock admitting underlying inflation could take a little longer to tame.
Oh!
But she is excited about new and improved monthly CPI data coming later this year.
Yay, ABS. Very, very happy. It'll bring us into line with most other advanced economies now.
In the suburbs, where mortgage pain is real, Australians are more concerned about paying the bills.
I've got 3 children and yeah, the mortgage rates are out of control, crazy, really hard to afford anything at the moment.
Frustration over
All
the...
by design. That's the whole point of them rising the interest rates, so the banks can siphon all the money out of your pocket, stop you from spending it in the economy, therefore bringing inflation down. Rates going up, the intent of that is also to increase unemployment, believe it or not.
The cash rate lingers.
Hopefully they'll be cut next month. That would make life a lot easier for everyone, I think. We might be able to go on a holiday or...
Yeah, or what about just maybe saving the money or putting it in a bank account? How about that? Put it offset off your mortgage. No, let's go spend it on a holiday. Yeah, we've got a bit of spending reprieve. Rates came down, might have a few extra $100 in the pocket every month. Yeah, let's go on a holiday. So before I get going on another rant, I think they will hold the rates. I think they'll hold them for as absolutely long as possible.
For the kids to have their extracurricular activities.
Obviously hoping it drops. You know, cost of living is through the roof. It's not easy.
The need for urgent rate relief is also on the minds of the now mortgage-free.
It does worry me because it's not what we wanted to see for our children. But sadly, that's reality at the moment.
Attention now turns to what the Reserve Bank will do next. Most economists are forecasting a rate cut next month if inflation continues to ease. All 4 big banks are expecting another cut in November, with Westpac and NAB expecting a third in February.
We do have...
Sounds pretty bullish. They get it wrong just about every single time. So, guys, I wouldn't be making any financial decisions on the forecasts of either economists from the banks or from other establishments such as this economist on screen. They don't know. It's how less wrong can you be? It isn't being right, because if people were right and they knew the future, then they'll be billionaires and trillionaires like Biff Tannen in Back to the Future. It's Back to the Future 2, where he's a billionaire and he got the sports almanac.
Forecasts in August, November and February, taking the cash rate to 310. But I wouldn't say anything is predictable or a sure thing. And I guess that's what we learned with this last meeting. And we are continuing to see ongoing uncertainty coming from offshore.
The RBA says it's ready for any global shocks and is closely watching the independence of the US Central Bank.
I can't speak for what goes through Mr. Trump's mind. I'm not sure anyone can.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah, good on you.
An unpredictable power with the global economy on edge.
Any opportunity just to get a little jab at him. I'm not saying I'm a fan of him or I'm not a fan of him. It's just the media is just always after him. He didn't even have to really be brought into that. All right, moving on to property. What's the outlook for property here in Oz, guys? Probably looking like property's back on the menu, if it was ever off the menu.
Temperatures may be down, but house prices are continuing their upward march. Sydney's median house prices just hit a new median record of $1.7 million, with strong growth in all capitals but Canberra and Darwin. Head of Research for Cotality, Eliza Owen, says 2 rate cuts so far this year and more to come will see prices going just one way. Eliza, we have seen no promises from the RBA Governor Michelle Bullock that she will deliver a rate cut next month. But even so, we're seeing the property market at record levels. What is driving it?
Well, we have already had 2 rate reductions, which I think has really helped to move the market along. In fact, the first monthly
I reckon I could do a better presentation than some of these people.
increase that we saw in 2025
Speaks to you like you're in primary school, in kindergarten. You're doing your show and tell, and a teacher's talking and doing a presentation to kids or something.
coincided with the Fed cut, the May cut. That's boosted borrowing capacity as well. And I think it's also the expectation that there will be more rate cuts this year. While the August meeting isn't a guarantee, between the monthly inflation trend showing a lower result, weaker retail sales reads, and the recent higher unemployment levels that we saw come through, I think it is looking more certain.
She's sitting there going, oh yeah, I don't even know what you're saying, your numbers and shit.
That if not August, at least a couple more cuts this year.
Well, as Michelle Bullock herself said, it's not the time, but it is the direction, likely down. What has been driving the gains in the market that we've seen in the middle of winter?
So we've seen about a 1.5% increase in the June quarter. And again, that is largely driven by reduced interest rates. We've also seen constrained supply, not only in the construction space, certainly dwelling approvals have moved lower over the course of the year, but it's in the listings as well. New listings have been lower, not just for winter, but lower than where they would usually be this time of year. In fact, total stock levels across Australia, with about 120,000 listings on the market, is almost 20% lower than where you would usually see at this time of year. So again, kind of coming back to that classic supply-demand dynamic that is driving prices higher, and it's driving...
Yeah, and it's bringing some more immigrants as well. What, about a few 100,000 a year for each major city? Yeah, it's going to help it.
Driving things like the auction clearance rate higher as well.
Do we know why that level of stock is so low? Are people not prepared to put their house or unit on the market because they can't, or are they waiting for the spring selling season?
Waiting.
I think they might be waiting for the spring selling season. I think they might be waiting for more rate cuts, and I think they might be waiting for more price growth. We're seeing that where listings aren't as low at the moment, it's traditionally more affordable areas, more peripheral areas that are seeing stronger price growth. That's where sellers seem to be more active at the moment. But your eastern suburbs, North Sydney, Mossman, they've been a bit quieter over the past few weeks, and I think they'll flourish a bit more when the spring selling season comes around.
All right. Once again, I think she's sort of winging it on the fly. Of course, that is what's happening. Any person who is holding an asset such as a property, you want to try and get the absolute most return as possible. Now, I know I'm going to be hated for saying that, but anyone listening to me and they owned a house and they were trying to sell it, you wouldn't be trying to sell it as cheap as possible to help someone out. You'd be wanting to get the highest price for it. So people are waiting. Well, we have a number of rate cuts on the horizon, whether they start in August, whether they start coming over the 6 to 12 months. People are holding because once those rates come down, that changes market sentiment, which has already been changing the last 6 months. And it frees up a lot more capital for people to borrow. And by I say free up, it increases your service ability. Lower rates, a higher amount of debt that people can borrow, and most people will max out the absolute most they can borrow to buy that home. Or they have to anyway a lot of the time. So what happens? Price goes up. The feeding frenzy starts happening. Of course you're holding on. Well, unless you were really struggling, or say you were a property investor, you've held it for long enough, and you know what? You don't care. You're fed up with everything. You're fed up with the taxes. You're fed up with the cost of everything, the maintenance, and you're just getting rid of it. You're happy to not hold it for the next year or 2 or 3. I could understand that's why people are selling as well. But not a good time. So this is, if you were to sell now, this is the, it's like when people say buy low, sell high. This is selling low, buying high right now in terms of trends and sentiment.
And we do see more stock on the market and potentially get a rate cut. Does that just mean prices go higher, or do those two things cancel each other out?
Oh, look, you'd have to imagine that prices will move higher just because of that pure boost to borrowing capacity. It'll make for more competitive selling conditions. Having said that, though, there are a few things that might keep a bit of a lid on growth. So if we look to the kind of COVID boom, 2020, 2021, you had record low interest rates, prices were a lot lower, and the property market was moving at an average 1.5% per month. This upswing, it's been a lot more subdued, running at about 0.5% a month nationally, and you'd have to imagine that's because of the affordability constraints, even with interest rates now moving a bit lower.
And I was going to ask you about the affordability.
So the reason why that would happen is because people have been dipping into their savings and cutting back as much as possible, but they may not be able to do that anymore to keep the family home. Forced out back into the rental market, or at the worst case scenario, on the street. Because you're into a rental market, it's a basket case as well. So people are doing whatever they can to hold on to these houses. They are not using lights in the house. They're stealing toilet paper from work. They're eating canned spaghetti every night for dinner, or noodles once a day just to survive. I know I might be exaggerating there, but people do go to those lengths. Not going out, not doing anything, just existing to keep that house. That's what people will do to keep that house. That's why the economy is so cooked, because people aren't spending money. And people will say, oh no, the rates need to go up even more. Be careful what you wish for.
Affordability constraints, we hear that thrown around a lot. What does it mean? People just can't get enough money to buy the house, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the typical income across Australia at the moment, $100,000 a year for the median household's income, based on where mortgage rates are at now, an affordable purchase price would be something like $560,000. The median dwelling value in Australia is closer to $860,000. So there's a big gap between what people can afford and where prices are. You're seeing a lot of demand skewed to cheaper markets as a result. And I think even for those who can afford to get into that high...
She got a fair bit of crazy eyes going, this one. Like the real crazy just about to pop out of her head. Must be a stress response, being on camera.
Banned, there's some global economic uncertainty, seeing where tariffs land, that could be creating a little bit of hesitancy at the high end as well.
For those who are jumping into the market and buying houses versus units, who's doing better?
So house and unit values are running at a pretty similar rate. Houses doing a little bit better, just because for those that are in the market and can buy houses, they tend to be on higher incomes, and lower interest rates boost their capacity more. In addition to the supply constraints that we've talked about in terms of construction and listings volumes, it seems that houses are winning out just at the moment.
Story time, guys. Property stats for 5-year-olds.
And on the supply side, the fact that we are looking likely to miss the government's target, is there any light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the availability of supply and affordability matching up at some point?
I mean, the construction space is still very challenged. That's both the fact that you've got constraint on labour and materials, blowing out construction timelines for what is in the pipeline. But if you look at dwelling approvals, they're trending a little bit lower through the start of the year as well, down about 10% in seasonally adjusted terms between January and May. I think we've got an ongoing challenge with supply, and I think the sooner we wake up to that, the more maybe we can pivot our focus back to the demand side of things and say, well, if we want housing to really be more affordable, how do we cool the demand side and maybe bring the market into a bit more balance from that perspective?
Eliza Owen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stop farming in, as I said, hundreds of thousands of migrants in each major city. That might help, but yeah, don't worry about that. It's like it doesn't exist or something. They won't even say it. All right, I'm going to skim past. You know what? We'll watch it. This is about tax, favourable tax conditions.
Australian businesses are increasingly concerned they've been left in the lurch after the United States walked away from the global minimum tax deal. The man who spearheaded those negotiations says the G7 caved to Donald Trump's demands, giving American businesses preferential tax treatment. Nasim Kadem reports.
A historic agreement to reform the global tax system.
The OECD says a group of 136 countries has agreed to enforce a corporate tax rate.
And the agreement is at least 15%.
15% tax, that'll be awesome. Well, I don't know what company tax is here, so 28%, 30%, plus all the other payroll and other ways they get you. GST, depending on what business you're in. No wonder Australian business aren't competitive. In my view, the small and medium-sized businesses should be charged less tax. You're trying to stifle. They're just bleeding out and stifling small businesses before they can even get off their feet. Raiding the cookie jar, so to speak. Tax after tax after tax. And over in the US, they're doing it the right way. Now, I'm not saying Amazon and Microsoft and all that should pay no tax, or very little to no tax. They should be paying tax. Businesses need to be treated the same over here, not used as a cash cow, especially small to mediums. Now, the large ones, yep, they should be on some sort of different rate. It should be like marginal tax rate, like we have here for our income tax. You make a certain amount of millions, you're on this. Once you go over that band, you go into the next one, etc. Progressive tax. Anyway. That's all this is about. This article's about small businesses struggling with these big titans. And we'll move across to a next little bit of the story. We got Australian businesses saying it's more or less undoable, it's uncompetitive, and it's actually a detriment to be doing business in Australia.
Yeah, so I've got plenty of those in stock.
Australian startups like Maria Baker's Nobody's Princess are now questioning the value of keeping their business local.
Do I actually have to go to the US and set up my business and be a US-based business? I'd rather not do that because I think there's this really big beauty about being an Australian business and, putting an Australian brand on the stage.
Australian business with everything made in China.
We've been building this Hyperinflation, right? So
the co-founder of tech startup Upcover says there needs to be a level playing field.
We play by the rules. We pay our fair share and we expect others to do as well.
US multinationals and their lobby groups declined to comment, but tax experts fear that the G7 tax backflip could send a bad signal and could give the green light to US multinationals to keep shifting profits to places where they pay less tax.
Oh, wow. You need a Nobel Peace Prize for that. Or a Nobel Prize for mathematics and physics. Of course they're going to do that. Any person who can control how much tax they pay would do that. If I could do it, I would. Why would you want to pay more tax? It's easy to say when you're maybe a low-income earner and you're looking at all these rich people and saying, oh, they should pay more tax, their fair share. But if you were a rich person, you would also be self-interested, like I've been talking about. You're not going to want to pay the tax. You're going to look for every single loophole, pay advisors, tax specialists and tax lawyers, how to structure up your business and offshore certain functions so you pay less tax. If I could do stuff to my tax and move things around and make things a lot better for me, I would.
This basically sends a clear signal to the likes of U.S. big pharma companies, U.S. big tech, that it's okay. Trump's got their back.
Experts say Australia now needs to...
Albo should have businesses back here, but he's got his hand in all their pockets. Or it's just a joke.
Work within the new UN Tax Convention, which is intended to address issues like tax avoidance and evasion.
To make sure that multinationals don't continue to steal the funding that we need to fund our healthcare, our hospitals, our public schools, education.
It'll be effectively a treaty to set up tax rules. It will work on a 2/3 majority for substantive matters, so it won't be possible for certain individual countries to derail or block it. Their first thing they're looking at will be taxes on cross-border services, so that will potentially capture these tech companies.
A new arena for the fight to collect more revenue from digital services companies.
Good. I support it. Why does it even know to go to a vote? Why doesn't the government just get some massive set of balls and say, this is what we're doing? The US government say, this is what we're doing, and voting it out and all this and having lobbyists. Of course they're going to lobby against paying tax. I'll lobby against me paying tax if I could afford it. All right, guys, this is one of my favourite topics. We're talking about manis. We're talking about double happiness smokes from your local. And it's a burning issue because, you got to see there's a big hole in the government's pocket here just from how many of you guys at home are going and buying your durries from the Chinese or Indian proprietors of those small, dodgy shops.
Is growing. Experts are warning it'll take big fines and a new approach from the federal and state governments to stub out the black market. Adelaide Miller reports.
Just a short walk from John Jensen's caravan park are multiple tobacconists selling illicit cigarettes.
I walk in the shop, I ask for a box of red, and that's what I get. It's in and out, no mucking around.
He says he's been buying them for 6 years after realising how much cheaper they are compared to over-the-counter cigarettes.
Everyone I know is doing it. Everyone I know that smokes is buying illicit tobacco because of the price.
And the price is being pumped up by tax, as high as 70%. Some say...
There we go. Why? Why would you support this if you had the option of buying counterfeit? It's not about morals or ethics. Is it morally right that the government can put 70% tax on smokes? Is it? Okay, some people say, well, people shouldn't be smoking. It's bad for you. But we can't be a nanny state. People can choose to do what they want. 70% on a tax. Come on. Beers, all right? Alcohol tax. I think the beer tax is 50%. So if you buy a slab for $60, $30, so that's tax. No. Too much. So, counterfeit it is. I encourage people to do it. Would you rather pay $10 or $12 for a pack of Mannies or Double Happiness, or $45 for a pack of 20 Winfields? Get stuffed. Get stuffed. I know why people are doing it, because it saves them thousands of dollars a year if they're a heavy smoker. And if that's their thing, everyone, each to their own. They make it out like it's a moral thing, like it's a thing about tracking down crime. No, it's about protecting taxation revenue, i.e. you pay pigs at home. Oh, you're not paying your 70% tax on the smokes. Yeah, we can't have this bad crime around. I think it's a crime that tax is a crime.
That's fueling the black market. In 2023, it was estimated illicit cigarettes made up 28% of the total tobacco trade.
I reckon it's more.
Contributing to a decline in government revenue, which has plunged from $16.3 billion in 2019 to $7.4 billion.
So, okay, now I want to talk about this. That is the result of greed. Okay, so the tax would have been a bit lower. People were still happy, or not happy, but they were still begrudgingly going and buying smokes from your major retailers and all of that, your legitimate smokes, your tax smokes. They've gone and taken the piss. I think it's once or twice a year they raise them by a couple of percent, those taxes. So the smokes are always going up $1 or $2 sort of every couple of months. I know this, I used to smoke. So you get to here, look at this. The market has spoken. The consumer has spoken with their feet and with their wallets. Get stuffed. If you want to try and get more, if you want to go try and get more tax revenue, stop increasing the tax. Actually reduce the tax. More people will probably go back, buy these smokes from the supermarket potentially, and bring your tax revenue up. It's like saying you want to sell a packet of chips for $10, and you can go and buy them somewhere else for $1. What do you think is going to happen? And your revenue is going to go down, isn't it? Because you got greedy. You overpriced your product. That's what they've done here. Even honest, everyday people, they go into the black market. The black market exists because of the government abuse of people. plundering us in every single way possible. People had enough. People have had enough.
And it's causing mixed messages from politicians.
But I wonder whether we need to look more closely at the federal government's massive excise on tobacco. The massive increase has exploded the illicit tobacco marketplace.
I respectfully disagree with Chris. I don't think the answer here is to make cigarettes cheaper for people. I think the answer here is to get better at compliance.
Yeah, I don't agree with Chris. I don't want to bring down the tax rate. What I want to do is try and shut down all these dodgy operators, which will be impossible. So that people are forced to buy these smokes, which will then hopefully they buy a higher volume or the same volume that they are buying of these counterfeit smokes, and our tax revenue will go through the roof. Awesome.
Professor Becky Freeman says if the government were to lower the tobacco excise, it would send the wrong message.
So the only thing you would be doing is rewarding the very retailers who had flouted the law by allowing them to legally sell cheap cigarettes. We would make smoking more appealing to more people, and we'd be undermining all the public health gains we have made.
She says there are more effective ways the government can target the black market.
The number one thing...
I heard about this. There's a bit of a scandal here with Brian, that Brian didn't really die of smoking. I'm not sure how true it is or not. It might be a bit of a urban legend, and that Brian's family sued them or something, or got some sort of payout for using his photo. But Brian, so 10 weeks, right? Look at Brian. He must have smashed some serious darts, punched some serious durries in 10 weeks to get from here to looking like this.
You should be doing is reducing the number of outlets that sell it. Make your enforcement job a little easier for yourself.
Yeah, okay.
The Albanese government says it spent $350 million tackling the black market over the past 2 years and appointed an illicit tobacco and e-cigarette commissioner to work with all levels of government to coordinate national policies.
Tobacco laws have just come into effect in New South Wales and Victoria, requiring retailers and wholesalers to hold a licence to sell tobacco. They're the last two states to introduce this legislation, and suppliers have until October and February to apply for a permit.
Okay, so hang on. So once again, so they're pumping up taxes. So, and listen to this, you have to get a license or a permit. You're probably have to pay thousands of dollars for it. How much does that cost? That's another revenue stream. Oh, do you have a license to sell those illegal cigarettes? This isn't going to do anything. You've lost. You've lost. You cannot win this battle, government. You cannot win this battle. Drop your excise or keep seeing your revenue drop.
But experts say more needs to be done.
You should enable that scheme with the ability to immediately shut down shops that you find selling, to issue massive fines not only to the business owner, but to the landlord who owns that property and leases out that building. And then finally, you should be using this licensing scheme to reduce the number of outlets.
Not even hiding it. Not even hiding it. It says cheap smokes $12 on an A board out the front. I don't think, look, it's not about health. It's not about anything like that. I don't care what anybody says. It's about revenue. You saw the numbers. It speaks for itself.
Back in country Victoria, Mr. Jensen says he wants to quit smoking.
I'd love to give up the cigarettes, but I can't afford the nicotine replacement therapy that goes with.
He's calling on the government to make replacement therapies more accessible, something the health minister says is already subsidised.
If they're serious about getting us to quit smoking, making quit smoking products cheaper.
Until then, he says he's trapped in a habit he can't afford to break.
It's not that he can't afford to break it. You can't break it. These are addicts. Okay? Smoking, nicotine, it's a horrible drug. Very addictive drug. Probably the most addictive thing on the planet. So instead of trying to get revenue out of it, government, why don't we ban them all together? There'll still be a black market, but make it harder. Make it literally, if you care about health, don't worry about the price of it. Shut it all down. Like, make it impossible for it to come into the country, but you won't do that because there's too much money on the line. Yeah, it's all about health and bad business practices. All right, that's enough, guys. I've been ranting for a bit. I didn't think I was going to go this long. I'll see you in the next video.